Fourth grade, now in a perspective lesson, what's very important is our vanishing point. For this particular perspective lesson, we are actually going to make a big X across our paper. Now the ruler isn't quite long enough to go all the way, so I'm going to estimate how I think it will line up with the corners, and then I'm going to do one corner at a time. So first of all, I'm going to start, and I'm trying to make sure that I've got it lined up with the other corner. I'm drawing very, very lightly. And that direction is actually for you, because for you to see my lines, I have to press harder. But I want you to try to keep yours feather light. Now I have to slide my ruler down so that it connects with the bottom part, and hopefully it's all right. And so I have my first line made across my page. You can go ahead and start with your first line. Once I'm done with my first line, I'm going to repeat that step, and I'm going to make my line a diagonal line from the other direction. Remember to keep your lines feather light. I'm drawing a bit darker for demonstration purposes. Now that important point in our lesson is our vanishing point. Now I'm making mine a bit bigger so you can see it. Yours doesn't have to be as big, mine's for demonstration. That's our vanishing point. Then I'm waiting for all eyes up front, so I know you're ready for my next step. Now I've got my ruler lined up. With the ruler, we've got to be aware that there's the end of the ruler, and there's also the part which we know is where the 0 is. So the very end is not what we're actually measuring from. We're going to line up where would be the 0 at the very end of our paper, and I'm lining that up with my vanishing point. Once I have that lined up with the end and my vanishing point, I'm going to locate where my 6-inch mark is, and from there I'm going to move up and I'm going to find the 6.5, which is of course right in the middle of 6 and 7, and I'm going to make a little guiding mark at 6.5 inches. This is from the edge of my paper. Your ruler has to be facing upward so that you're finding the 6.5 mark. Keeping my pencil there just to guide you. if anyone is not getting the step, make sure you raise your hand so you do not get behind in this lesson. So this is, if you watch carefully, I have my ruler at the end, and then I've got it lined up with my vanishing point, and this is at 6.5. Then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn my ruler so it's upside down, and I can have it in the same place on the other side. Here's the end. Make sure you're watching up on the board very carefully. And then I'm going to line this up with my vanishing point. I'm repeating that same step. Notice how I'm right here at the 0, and I have it lined up, and I'm going to go to find the 6. I'm going to make a mark at 6.5 inches once again, just like I did on the other side. I'll put my pencil there as a guiding mark in between the 6 and the 7. So it's 6.5 inches from both sides. I like how I see so many students with their rulers flat after they're done with their steps. Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, now the next thing, those are our guiding marks. You can see I have 2 little marks that I've made. I'm going to, now to know that my ruler is straight, if you line it up with the bottom of your paper, so you can see that it's straight, I can make a line. I'm using that guiding mark, and then I'm going to go to the other side, line it up once again. If my ruler is straight with the bottom, like a straight edge, I'm using that. Then I can make my other line. Almost looks like a little butterfly there. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do some connecting to make a rectangle. So I'm lining those 2 up, and I'm going to connect. Then I'll go to the top part, and I'm going to connect once again, which is helping me to create that rectangle. Looks like a little envelope. Now I've drawn fairly dark, so mine would be hard to erase at this point, but that's where I'm hoping you kept your lines very light, because this area inside of here, this is going to be erased at this point. You keep your vanishing point, but these inside lines will be erased at that point. So go ahead and take a moment. You may take your eraser and erase these guiding lines inside. I'm keeping that vanishing point though. Now hopefully you could get rid of all your guiding lines. Mine, because I drew so dark, pretty well hard to be able to do that, but hopefully if you drew lightly you were able to. Okay, we are ready to move to our next step. I'm waiting for all eyes up front and I'll know you're ready for me to be able to. All right, what we're going to do next is we're going to actually work on our perspective road. And so what we're going to do is I want to line up the ruler so that I know that it's straight with the bottom. You want it vertically going straight up and down. I've got it lined up with my vanishing point. I'm not going to draw inside my little rectangle. Just going to make a line which comes straight down. Again, I'm making mine, trying to draw so that it's hard, a dark line because I want you to see that. You make your lines feather light. All right, now we're going to be doing some measuring. And what I want to measure to begin with is we're going to make a guiding mark. Now I've got my 0 right here, which I'm lining up with that center line that I just made. And my name isn't there, but I'm not going to really pay attention to my name. I'm going to make a little guiding mark at close to the bottom. Notice I'm lined up at the 0. I'm going to make a little mark at the 3-inch point. And once again at the 6-inch mark. And that my name is right there too, so I'm going to do it a little bit dark so you can see it. 3 and 6 inches from the center line. I like when I have people looking at me and letting me know they understand. Good job. So 3 inches and 6 inches. Those are our guiding lines. Now this is important. We need to line up with our vanishing point at this point. Notice how I know some students will get confused with this point. Don't get confused. Go to that vanishing point. And that little mark I have right there, my guiding mark, and I can make that line come right down. I'm pressing hard, so I have a dark line. You want to keep yours light. That's at that 3-inch guiding mark. Then I'm going to keep my ruler on that vanishing point. I'm going to move over to the other side to my 6-inch mark. And I'm going to go ahead, make that line, jump over my name, and kind of come to the other side. So I'm going to kind of jump over my name there. Now I'm going to, the next step is on the other side is actually just a repetition, but I'm going to have my ruler upside down so I can line up again on that 0 mark. And I'm going to make that little guiding mark at the 3 and at the 6. The 3 and the 6. So I've got 2 marks. It's just exactly the same as the other side, only in reverse. The 3 and the 6. Then I'm going to, once again, use my vanishing point. Okay, I'm looking for eyes up front showing me they're ready to be able to move on. Looks like my green team's ready. Okay, we're going to want to turn this into our checkerboard. So I'm going to again use my all-important vanishing point, and I'm lining it up with that center line. So I've got the 0 point. Now this is important. I've got what's 0 on my vanishing point. Make sure you have your ruler all lined up. And then the first marking that I make, I'm going to make 3 different marks. My first mark is going to be at the 2-inch. I'm making a guiding mark. At the 2-inch. The second mark is at the 3 1/4 inch. At the 2-inch. Then I go to the 3. I'm looking at my 3. I'm not doing 3 though, I want it to go to the 3 1/4 inch. Give me a thumbs up if you know what a 1/4 inch is. Alright, good job. So I moved to my 3, but I went up a bit to the 1/4 inch. So I got 3 1/4 inch. That's my second marking. Finally, I'm going to keep coming forward, and I'm going to stop at the 5-inch. And I've got my mark at the 5-inch. So I'm keeping my ruler right there just to be able to show you. I'm going to repeat. At the 2-inch, I'm coming forward to the 3 1/4 inch. Then I'm coming forward even more to the 5-inch. 2-inch, 3 1/4, 5-inch. Give me a thumbs up. How many of you think you've got that step down pat? How many have got it? All Alright, that's when I can now turn my ruler, and this is where we start making our checkerboard. Now I'm going to use my ruler horizontally.
Did we do this one last year?
In third grade, we did a lesson similar. This is
With the checkerboard and that stuff and the animals?
now, as you notice, now I'm using the first mark I made. That's at my 2-inch. Now what's important here is I don't, at this point, I don't want to see people having crooked lines. So I'm looking to see that my ruler is straight. If you have it lined up with the bottom, it's nice and straight. I'll hold it with one hand. And then I can make my first line. This is using my 2-inch guiding mark. That's my first one. Then I have my second one at 3 1/4. For all you extremely smart 4th graders that know how to find that. And then finally, I'm going to my 5-inch. Now it almost might be easier to go above to make sure that you have it straight. You want to make sure you hold your ruler firmly for that step. We are ready to begin our windows. We're ready to start with our windows. Now this is getting us ready to create our gallery. And so whereas as 3rd grade we do windows, for a gallery we actually want to do where we're doing frames for pictures because we're doing artwork. So to be able to make those picture frames, I'm going to go to I'm going to use my ruler here, and I'm making a couple of guiding marks. Notice how I have the 0 right here, and then I've got my ruler lined up with the edge of my paper. I'm using 2 1/2 inch. Give me a thumbs up if that's clear. 2 1/2.
Where?
Right at the edge of my paper. And then I'm going to make a little, actually, to simplify that, let's go like this, so that I'm sure I'm lined up with that 0. And I'm going to make a mark at 2 1/2. I'm going to move my ruler down, make a mark at 2 1/2. Now, your 2 1/2 might vary a bit from mine. This is where we're going to do what's called estimating in an artwork. Notice how I have 2 guiding marks. Now, I'm going to connect these, and it'll make it a little bit clearer. Now, this is where ours are going to look a little bit different. Our windows might vary, our pictures might vary, but that's okay because all of ours will be a little bit different. What's important is our perspective is accurate. And I even went over the edge on that one. But what's important is you have that nice straight line. Okay. I like how I see people putting their rulers down flat when they're done. Thank you. Okay, now let's use our vanishing point once again so we can create our picture frame. And we're going to make a line go up to the edge of the paper. What's important here now, remember, don't forget about your vanishing point. That's that important point in our lesson. Now the next thing we're adding is our frame, because there will be a picture inside of here. Instead of a window, this is going to be a picture frame. In order to do that, I'm going to make a little teeny line that's in the corner. And I'm going to make a little teeny line in this corner. And then I'm going to make a vertical line which connects vertically. Then, what's my important point again? Raise your hand if you've got an answer for me.
Vanishing.
Vanishing point. I'm going to my vanishing point. I'm going to connect right here. And I'm going up here. And I'm going to connect right here. And inside is where I would draw my artwork. Now, fourth grade, what I would like you to do is just watch, because this is where everybody's can be a little bit different, but I want you to understand the concept of using your vanishing point. So if I can have everybody's rulers down flat, all eyes up front, I'm going to demonstrate making a couple more windows. I like how I see so many people that put their rulers down. Thank you. All right. So then, what I need to have, if I'm going to make another window similar to this on the other side, I'm going to do the same process. But I'm going to turn my ruler around, and I'm going to make a guiding mark, which is 2.5 from the edge, just like we did on the other one. But we can do our windows differently. They don't, our picture frames, they don't all have to be exactly the same. But this is the same concept as making windows. So if I connect my two lines, once again, remembering to keep my ruler very straight vertically, and once again, my vanishing point, And again on the other side, my vanishing point. My little lines for my picture frames on the inside. And I'm creating that frame once again. My vanishing point. And my vanishing point once again. So I've got 1, 2, and our third picture frame would actually be on the inside. Class, class, class. Could you stop, look, and listen for me? We want to have this area be one of our pictures as well. So I'm going to make a little line in each corner, which comes in. And then I'm going to make lines which connect them, which is creating my picture frame. So inside of here, and we will be erasing that vanishing point pretty thoroughly, inside of here would be able to be another artwork. Now the other thing we want to add is two more pictures which are on the inside. So to make my first one, I'm going to make, I have my 0 right here. I'm going to actually turn it upside down so I make sure you're following along. Could everyone stop, look, and listen? I'm going to demonstrate 2 more pictures. I've got my 0 at the edge. And I'm going to make a little guiding mark. My little guiding mark, I've got the 0 here. My little guiding mark is at the 6 inch. I'm going to move that down again. 6 inch. And I really want you at this point just to be learning the concept. If your pictures are a little bit different than mine, that's perfectly fine. What I'm wanting you to learn is the concept. Now then, I'm going to make another little line at the 4 inch. And the 4 inch. And then I'm going to make a line that connects. Raise your hand if you can tell me which point I need to use now to be able to make my picture. Lucas. Vanishing point. So I'm using my now here I have to do a little bit of erasing. So please watch closely. I have to use my vanishing point. So here my line would have been a little bit too long. What would I do with this little line right there? Raise your hand if you could tell me. This little edge that comes up a little too far. I would erase that. Very good. And then on the bottom, and I've created another picture, and I would do that same concept over here. create another picture. And with that, I'm going to stop. You have about a minute more to keep working.